So, our next session is called We've Interviewed 200 plus creatives, and this is what we've learned. Intriguing. The Dukhan Show is a leading society and culture podcast in the UAE, hosted by Omar Tom and Muhammad Akawi and Reem. Today, they will share epiphanies, truths, and anecdotal insights from interviewing and collaborating with 200 creatives, over 200 creatives, through their podcast, The Dukhan Show. Joining me on stage are our speakers, Reem Hamid, who's the CEO and co-founder of Collective and partner at Dukhan Media, and Omar Tom, who's the managing partner of Dukhan Media. Please give them a warm welcome to our next speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Why am I nervous?
You got this. Don't be nervous. You've done this 100 times.
You're right. You're right. Here we go. In the Arab world, we have a running joke about our parents and their expectations of us. And it goes, you have 4 options. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a disappointment. So we're very happy to be here today to talk about the economy of disappointments and their parents who wonder, do they even have a real job still? But actually, it takes a lot of guts. I know, of course, we're kidding, but it takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of heart to take the creative path. And that's where we believe change happens.
Definitely. Change begins with the heart first. Then change happens in our homes, then our neighborhoods, our cities, our own countries, and then we could change the world. Hey guys, my name is Omar Tom, commonly known as OT, and would like for us to begin with heart.
I jumped it on my heart. My name is Reem.
And our partner, Akawi, who actually was not supposed to be here, but he finally surprised us by showing up.
He's
there he
right
is,
there.
the lovely gentleman over there. Thank you for being here.
So, we're most well known for our work on the Dukhan Show. It's a society and culture podcast, and through our podcast, we interviewed over 200 creatives, but it's actually so much more than that. We started building on-site activations where we began to meet creatives and talk to them. And through our work, we began to realize that there are truths among us, truths that ring through the heart of what we do. And we gained extremely valuable insight. And we do all this work to answer the singular question, where is home?
So, for example, to try and figure this question out, I'm originally Sudanese. I was born back in Sudan, grew up in Sharjah, studied and worked in the US, and eventually built my business in Dubai and built a home in Dubai. Akawi, over there. So, born in Lebanon, grew up in Abu Dhabi, studied and worked in Dubai, and we're all from different parts of the world.
I'm Iraqi, Filipino, Canadian. I'm an immigrant and I'm a UAE expat, and I grew up in a Muslim and Christian home. I've lived in 5 countries all over the world.
So the question that we always struggle with as third culture kids, and we're always constantly asked is, so where are you from? Where is home? As third culture kids, this question is such a trigger for us. And that trigger actually became a slingshot that catapulted us into probably one of the most wonderful discoveries of ourselves and adventures that we could have ever asked for. Hence, which leads us back to Dukhan. Dukhan is pretty much a grocery store or a bodega that you can find in every neighborhood around the world. And the beauty about Dukhans is that that's where communities are built. They're the cornerstone of these communities. And as we kept asking the question of where is home, we started to realize our tribe and other third culture kids came and congregated by our Dukhan to tackle that with us. And as we kept searching for home, the creative energy that we've developed within this space, searching for this answer searching for our answer through ourselves and them through these conversations.
So one day, we were just doing our thing, and we received this message. And you can tell that it's Facebook, so that's how long ago we received the message. But let's zoom in. This is from a gentleman named Hector. And what's great about Hector is he's actually a kid in Arizona. And he said, over the last month, I've learned more about the Arabic world than I ever thought possible. I listened to 53 episodes over the past month. So now we've upgraded, we've kept updated with Hector, and you can see he's sliding into our DMs now. And he actually said, also, when I hear people mention the Middle East, any part of it, I always tell them that they have no idea what's going on over there. The creativity, the love, the innovation, it's extraordinary. And through your show, I had a chance to peel back that curtain and marvel at the world that I saw. And this touched us because we've never been to Arizona.
No,
and
I have, but I never met Hector, but I've just been there.
And Hector told us that we're actually a few of the Arab, he doesn't have Arab friends, and I think we were the first Muslim people that he'd actually met in podcast world. Then something else happened that was remarkable. This is Yusuf Tukan, and what he did was he made a talk at the prestigious Cannes Lion Film Festival in France, and he called it The New Tribes of Arabia. And in it, he called us the voice of the Arab digital generation. And it dawned on us when that happened. The podcast that OT started in a little room in Sharjah suddenly became a portal from the Middle East to the world.
And in our quest to find home, we have traveled quite a lot. I mean, and the hardest thing that we always have to deal with, that was constantly heart-wrenching for us, is this question that we get asked: how is it that we don't see Arabs like you on TV or mainstream media? And the response simply is that, well, nobody ever asked us. Nobody asked us how we want to be represented, and nobody asked Arabs like us how they wanted to be represented in the media. So this is where we started to look into how is it that we want to be represented. I mean, how could we show the world what we know of us? The resilient, the brave, the intelligent, the beautiful, and wonderful Arabs like us. And that sent us on this quest to be able to answer these questions. I mean, for example, if you've never been to Brooklyn, right, chances are, if you know nothing about it, you might at least know that it's based in New York City, right? Or you might actually have an idea of what it might look like. You might have an indication of what the streets, or maybe might be able to name a couple. But then why is it when I talk about a place like Sharjah, if you've never been to the UAE before, the place where I grew up at, chances are most people might mistake it for food or something that they feel the need to Google.
So with all this in mind, we thought we're going to find a solution to not only the misrepresentation, but the really deep misunderstanding of who we were. So with OT's background in strategy and advertising, and my legal and media background, and Akawi's deep experience with working with big brands and community-based activations, we decided to co-found a consultancy, a cultural consultancy called Dukkan Media. So now our creative and cultural work drives and underpins every single insight that we generate for every single one of our clients. And our little podcast that became a portal is now an engine for the world.
So that was the point where we learned that we are no longer just in the podcast business, but we're actually in the data and insight generation business. Since then, our jobs became to help businesses understand the people of the Middle East. And our business is actually a testament to the UAE's creative economy and what it could do for people like us. I mean, trust me when I tell you, we believe that there's probably nowhere else in the world that the three of us would have met. And not only that, but also there is no other country in the Arab world where we could have been able to build such a unique and special business such as Dukkan Media.
So because this is a conference on creative economy, I make a creative proposal. I would like to change the title of this already long title to call it Client Feedback. This is a series of epiphanies that nobody asked for, but we're giving it to you straight because we refuse to be misrepresented any longer.
Basically, we're competing for longer titles constantly.
Yes, so we are in the competition for the longest, most accurate title.
So-
and the reason we want to do this, sorry to
ahead.
interrupt, is because we wanted to create a talk that would change forever. Every week, we have new people on our show, we meet new creatives. Every week, the economy changes. And every time it does, every time we present this talk, it will change to show our likeness. So here we go.
So, to kick off our series of epiphanies, in episode 79, where we've interviewed Salim Al-Qasimi, the founder and principal at Fikra, and is also the director of the graphic design Biennale. In that episode, we actually coined a very interesting term, which is the neo-Bedouin that Salim helped us create. And it was a contemporary and progressive outlook on our nomadic selves as third culture kids. But more importantly, what we've learned was that he was actually the first Emirati to officially welcome us here, not just to study, live, or work, but actually to create and redefine in the space.
So I was actually a guest on the show before I was a host on the show. And I got to experience what it meant to create space for people. And I loved it. I fell in love with the idea. I heard that they were looking for a female voice, and so I was like, I hit OT up and I said, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Of course, I won the job, but what I realized was I actually wasn't the first choice. I found out later that I was probably the second or third choice. And that got me thinking. Many of the creatives that we see in the Arab world are not necessarily the first choice. You may not choose the Arab strategist first or the Sudanese creative first. However, I guarantee you from personal experience, we are the undeniable best choice, and we're working every day to get there. I try to be as organized as possible when we get to recording an episode. I do my very best. And I can guarantee you when we sat down to interview Mo Rahma, I did not do any preparation whatsoever because it was a hectic week and my team did brief me, but I wasn't listening. And so when I sat down to actually speak to Mo Rahma, this young man has been through, when you listen to the episode, health issue after health issue. He battled cancer. His colon got removed. A bag got put in its place. He ended up getting in a coma after a surfing accident. And then his legs, two of his legs were broken. His ACL was torn. And every time something happened to him, he fought harder with this tenacity that I'd never seen before. And he is now the most well-known surfer in the Emirates. His goal is to surf the highest wave in the world, to be the first Arab to do so. And most importantly, he has his eyes on the Olympics, and so do we. When we pull back and we look at ourselves and all the creatives that we spoke to, we realize even all of us now, we're all suffering. But we're suffering for our own good. Because the opposite side of that is hope and challenge and possibly art. Possibly art.
In episode 166, we spoke with Trinidad James, who's an award-winning rapper and hip-hop artist based out of the US. And in that conversation, his journey is a very interesting one where he actually had to fight legally to leave his record sale distribution contract and actually building his own company. And in that journey, this inquisition of valuation, how do you value your own creative work and your own creative output? And that was a pain point that we found to be incredibly common, not just ourselves, but in this creative economy. And we're hoping to be able to answer these questions with our journey. Another prolific artist, our brother El Cid, who early on in episode 32 came on our show. If some of you remember, this was right after he did the 51 building mural in Egypt. And part of the conversation with him, we learned that when it comes to creative work, it requires collaboration. He would have not been able to do those 51 buildings without him. But more interestingly, collaboration is actually a contact sport. If you want to be the best of the best, you want to beat the best and compete at a global scale, then you got to be ready to play the game.
This is Marwan's work. And I know if you've been anywhere in any city, in any part of the city in Dubai, you've seen these clouds. He made these clouds. And in his episode, he talked to us about apprenticeship. Someone had offered him, a really prolific artist had offered him an apprenticeship, and he had no money, and he went to sit under someone's wing and learn the craft. In hip hop, we have a saying for this. It's called each one, teach one. It means mentorship. It means apprenticeship. It means learning your craft as a creative. But what we're challenged with is transience is our enemy when it comes to this. How can we build roots and get apprentices and be mentors and grow wings if we don't know if we can stay? It's a deeper question we need to answer as we tackle the growth of the creative economy. This artwork is Pasita Abad's. She's a Filipino artist who is currently the first person to show a whole solo exhibition in the UAE. And her work focuses on the Filipino migrant worker. It is so important. What's actually more interesting is Pasita Abad actually died in 2004. She passed away. And her work is carried on through her family and now through us.
Yeah.
Here's the point. You have to stake claim on your narrative. It is our responsibility as creatives to do that. Because as the cliche goes, and cliches are here for a reason, I guess, if you're not going to tell your story, someone else will do it for you.
This is Odyssey, a New York-based rapper, music producer, and hip-hop artist who happens to be half Sudanese, half African-American. And in the struggles of being born into that duality, where he's never Sudanese enough for his Sudanese side of the family, but he's also never American enough for his American side of the family. In that struggle, he actually taught us that what you do and who you are actually very closely intertwined, especially when it comes to the body of work that you're trying to create. Those two come into a space, and that becomes you expressing yourself to the world through your voice. In this episode, Mohammed Idris, who's an old friend of ours, actually reached out and insisted to be on the show because when his father passed away, may he rest in peace, he was actually by his father's bedside as he let go of his last breath. And interestingly enough, we spoke about obviously being born naked into this world and we die naked, but in relation to creatives, that actually had us think that when creativity is probably the only industry where a person bears his soul and is actually naked to be able to provide the valuable work that they do. And that is why we are all naked, and so are you.
A very important lesson we learned from Carlos Mer, whose contribution to the world of graffiti is undeniable. He said, I have two passports, my American passport, which I travel borders with, and then hip-hop, my cultural passport. As creatives, we extend that because when we look back, we see across the board, our passport as creatives brings us into places that the world cannot imagine. And we need to use that to our advantage and help each other build those networks. For our 200th episode, there was only one person we imagined could be on it, and three of us said, if she's not going to be on it, we're not going to do it. And thank God her team managed to pull it together. Her Excellency Noor Al-Akabi was our 200th milestone episode, and she gave us one important thing. She told us, Edward Said had said in his book Orientalism, the question is, who you really is, which we interpret as, who are you? Just like all other heroes, what we were looking for, the question of where is home, actually was in front of us all along. Home is where your 2 feet are planted right now. Wherever you are, that is home. However, the question now that we have to answer,
who are we? So it's not about where is home, but it's about who actually are we as people. Her Excellency gave us a gift. She gave us a compass, and she gave us a new direction for Dukhan's next era. And that is something that we want to call out and challenge to all of us. So I'd like, in true Dukhan fashion, we'd actually like to end this by inviting you all to a call to action. Rather, a call to an adventure. Let's actually be brave, be bold, and be courageous in asking ourselves, who actually are we? Who are we as humans in this creative economy?
Who are we as the voice of the Arab digital generation?
Who are we as contributors to this nation's GDP?
Who are we as people who add value through creative imagination?
And this is, which makes things very interesting because that's how we were able to go from a podcast to a portal to an engine for the world. So let's have these tough conversations together. Let's talk about racial issues. Let's talk about gender equality and business and all the taboo topics. Let's come together, deal with the struggles of these conversations, and let's elevate ourselves together and move forward. And let's be a resource for each other and build resources for others to be able to access and be able to build and grow. And If you want to find us, you'll find us behind our spreadsheets, behind the mics, behind presentation decks, writing policy notes, hosting focus groups, and writing rooms. And we would like to welcome you all into our world so we can show you how magical the Arabs like us of this part is. This is what we're here to do. We'll show you who we really are.
So I was watching a theatrical presentation by Derek Delgadio a few weeks ago, and I heard the statement, until all our I ams become we ours. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful. So, until all our I ams become we ours, we love you. We're Dukan Media. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We love you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Before you go, I saw your call to action.
Yes.
We have a captive audience over here. What is your ask?
May I?
Please.
Today, create, stake your claim on your narrative. Tell us who you are. Don't let them tell us who we are.
Yes.
What does Dukan Media need?
What does?
Be selfish. What do you
does
guys
Dukan
want?
Media need?
Dukan Media needs, to be honest,
We need more people like us.
we want a larger tribe. We want you to, if you see any way that we can collaborate, contact us, because we believe that this works on a community level to the world.
Yes, sir. And always hire local as much as you can.
Hire local.
All right. Big love to Dukan
Amen.
Media. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Guys, those are not just stories. That's data. Data is everything. Everybody's talking about big data. That's a tremendous amount of data. So please reach out to Dukan Media for collaborations.